Sustainability has a comprehension problem. It's difficult and complicated, but making it easier can be a trap that eliminates all the systemic relation that one problem has with the other. And also, how can we communicate something so complex to a public that is used to shorter and shorter content that is almost only visual? My guest this week has been doing this for some years now, with different videos on sustainability, SDGs, biomimicry, green building, carbon footprint, circular economy. You actually might have come across one of his videos already. We will talk with him about his experience in creating educational videos, but also of his work with company and what they have taught him about storytelling for sustainability and how to improve our communication skills around these topics. I hope you enjoy it. Sustainability at Work is a podcast about sustainability in the workplace and in companies. My name is Samara and I've been working with sustainability for almost 10 years. Welcome everybody to Sustainability at Work and welcome Alex. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
I'm so happy to have you because we have so many topics to talk about. Because you have a YouTube channel and you are creating amazing videos all about different sustainability topics. So you have tried to communicate almost any topic about sustainability. So I'm really curious to hear what you have to share with us. So, Alex, I'm going to ask you if you can introduce yourself and talk a little bit about your channel and your background also.
Yeah, of course. So my name is Alexandre Magnin. That's French for Alex Magnin. So I'm originally from France. I was trained as an engineer, civil engineer, so very different from what I'm doing now. In 2000, I started an internet startup because that was the bubble. Everybody was doing an internet startup, so I did one too. I did that for 6 years, and in 2006, I think I realized that something else was going on in the world that I hadn't really clued in. And essentially, I decided to become part of the solution as opposed to part of the problem. So I think I got a lot of sustainability awareness all at once that year. So I decided to sell my company. And because I didn't know very much about sustainability, I decided to do a master's program. So I went to Sweden for a year to do a master's program that I highly recommend to all the people who are interested in learning more about sustainability. Actually, it's fantastic. It's a master's called Strategic Leadership Towards Sustainability. So anyway, I did that. And after that, I moved to Canada and worked for an international nonprofit organization that's called the Natural Step. There's a connection between the master's program and the Natural Step because the program is based more or less on the framework that is used with the Natural Step. So that's also why I started working with this organization. And so I did several years, 5 years of advisory work, consulting work with businesses and communities in Canada, in French and English, in Quebec and in all various provinces in Canada. And so I did that until 2012. And that's when I decided to do something different again. And I decided to use all the things that I had learned during those 6 years between the master's and the advisory work that I had been doing and package that in an engaging video format with drawings. So they're essentially whiteboard videos. That's often how people refer to them. There are those speed drawings, whiteboard animations. And I think I did that because I needed more creativity in my life, that there was only so many hours I could work consulting with businesses and communities. So that was that. I needed more of that. So there was no business plan, no nothing. I just created a video, posted it on YouTube, and then I did a second one and a third one. Now I've done 30, I think, which in retrospect in 7 years is not that much. But so my work today is essentially twofold. It's all my what I like to think about my pro bono work, like all the videos that I post for free for people to learn about sustainability, climate change, circular economy, whatever you want to call it, on YouTube. And the second part is the work that I do on commission. So essentially businesses, communities, nonprofit organizations, many different kinds of organizations hire me to create a customized video for them. Sometimes it's to train their employees when they have tens of thousands of employees and they want to create a few videos to train them. Sometimes it's to present their sustainability report. Sometimes it's to explain what they've done over the past number of years on sustainability. Sometimes because they launch a new product that is sustainability related and they want to explain it to the public. So that's what my work looks like right now.
So apart from the personal reason why you decided you want to be more creative, was there something that you saw in the sustainability world of how companies were communicating, or something that brought you to the idea of using drawings to communicate sustainability? What was the problem? What was maybe lacking? I don't know.
Yeah, that's a good question. It's I would like to say yes, and that would all sound good, but I don't think that was the real reason, to be totally honest with you. I think there were three things came together. One, I realized I wanted to do something else with my time every day, and I want to spend more time drawing and creating, inventing things. Two, I wanted to communicate, not because I identified a gap really, but I wanted to communicate all the things that I had learned because I thought that was a cool thing to do. And you do learn a lot when you work with a lot of businesses and communities. Like there are so many people in the room and so many questions are asked and so many problems are being solved. I thought it gave me an interesting perspective on sustainability and how people understand it. And to be totally honest, yes, there was one thing. The very first video that I posted was what I still call the definition of sustainability. And the reason why I started with this one, it's because every time I was doing a workshop, a 1 or 2 day workshop, during the highlight at the end of day 2, when we were asking people what was the best part of the workshop, a lot of them were saying, it's when you explained what sustainability is first thing yesterday morning. And this presentation comes part from the science of sustainability that was presented to us during the master's program. Partly it was modified by my partner, Sarah Brooks, who worked with the same organization and who had put a very interesting twist on this to make it sound like a story, an interesting story. So the first video that I did was that. I actually did that in a, 10-minute format. I think I started with 2 different videos and then I packaged everything in one 7-minute video. Because even for me, when I was presented that the first time, I was like, oh, that's what sustainability is about. It's about our capacity to live indefinitely on planet Earth within the natural cycles. Like the rules of the game on planet Earth are the natural cycles, the laws of thermodynamics. It's not complicated. It's science that a lot of us, it's photosynthesis essentially, and a few other things that a lot of us learn when we are, 11, 12 years old or something like that. But packaged like that, it totally helped me. And I think since then, a lot of people understand in a simple way, but still a rigorous way, what sustainability is about and how we are not being sustainable right now. All the things that we do that are not sustainable, that break the cycles of nature and stop nature from doing what it does very best on its own.
So, and 30 videos after, do you see something lacking in the communication around sustainability? Do you see some challenges that you encounter during your work and trying to talk about all these topics?
Yes, I guess so. I mean, I don't think I have all the answers. One thing that I have seen is, and that's when I said at the beginning, sustainability, climate change, circular economy, like the term changes a lot of the time. And I think one of the big problems, and I saw that every time we started a project with a business, is the lack of common language. People are like, so what do you mean by sustainability? Like, what's like, is that like climate change? Is that plastic pollution? Is that water? Is that hunger? Is that poor working condition in factories in India? What is it? And it is complex. It's everything. And there are trends. So circular, 7-10 years ago, nobody was talking about circular economy, for instance. Today, in 2021, everybody talks about circular economy. It's like the buzzword, and it's been for a number of years, thanks to the Ellen MacArthur Foundation and others. But so I think the main issue is the lack of common language. And I think I'm trying to bring that in my videos. And it's also to satisfy the YouTube algorithm, because the YouTube algorithm likes keywords and videos that are focused on the keywords and all that. So that's why I create videos that try to be like, there's one on circular economy, one on examples of circular economies, one on biomimicry, how we can use biomimicry, one on the sustainable development goals, one on carbon footprint, one on the ecological footprint. So all those topics that are often misunderstood, that's one way for me to communicate sustainability concepts one by one per video, in a way that is rigorous, because I think that's another potential issue that we as human beings struggle to address, is the fact that we tend to throw our arms in the air and do a lot of things, and we're not always very rigorous and strategic about how we address sustainability challenges. And I think it's important. We have only so much time and energy, and I think it's important to focus it on the things that really matter and that make a big difference. So I'm trying to do that, and I'm trying to do that in an engaging way that is drawn by hand, that is sometimes a little funny, a little goofy.
I was reading recently an article which was talking about simplifying sustainability. And this journalist was saying, and actually another guest in this podcast told me in one episode, I think she was talking about sustainable fashion. She say, I think we simplified sustainable fashion too much. So now people don't have any information to choose between one sustainable option and the other, because they don't have that, maybe the language, as you were saying, or the data. And so she was saying, we are trying to reintegrate some of the data and some of the explanation with their app. And so did you experience this? Is there some video in which you simplify too much and then you realize maybe I'm losing too much? I don't know, because all these problems are systemic, so they're complicated. If we simplify too much, I don't know. What's your experience?
Yeah, I'm trying to not simplify too much, also because, like I was saying earlier, maybe that was me being trained as an engineer and all that, but I think science for climate change, but also for sustainability and the rest of it, is important, and the rigor is important, because if we spend the next 20 years putting actions together that are not taking us where we want to go, we're going to be in even deeper trouble. So I think it's very important. So I try hard not to simplify too much. But it's a good question. I mean, it's a complicated thing. It's the whole thing about what do you buy at the grocery store. Like, not everybody has, or clothes, like you were saying, not everybody has the time or the energy or the interest to study and read everything to know what kind of shampoo they should buy, where do their meat come from, how the clothes have been manufactured. It's a huge amount of work, and I don't think we can. I mean, I think everybody has to be responsible for their life and their planet and their impacts, and everybody's responsible for, getting the information that they need to make their decisions. But I think corporations over 3, 4, 5 decades, especially over the last 2, have tried really hard to blame everything on individuals. That's the whole carbon footprint story, like how BP invented carbon footprint to say everybody should reduce their carbon footprint. No, you should stop digging fossil fuel out of the ground. And I think it would be, I would say the same thing for fashion. I think it's for clothes manufacturer to figure out all the complexity of building good, sustainable clothes on planet Earth in 2021. It's not for us to have to inquire every single online and brick and mortar store to know which one is well made and which one is not. So labels help, but it is all very complex. And I don't necessarily think that we are oversimplifying things, but I do think that businesses have not put all the money they have made over the past several decades into making their products better in a way that I think if they put their mind to it, they would be able to.
Mm-hmm. So your idea is that corporations are key in trying to solve sustainability problems. Is there any other tool? Yeah, they're very important. Yeah. Is there any other tool or any other institution that is important that we need them to intervene and come in?
I mean, I think we've seen over the past many years, again, how legislation goes a very long way. And I find it interesting because I live in North America, but I'm from France. So I'm still reading newspapers in both places. And I find it astonishing how much legislation there is, and not to say that everything is perfect and all that, but how much legislation has happened in France and England and Germany. And I'm not even talking about all the Scandinavian countries that have been way ahead of the curve. But just France, there's so much legislation about, it's been 4 years now that it's illegal for a supermarket to put the food in the garbage. They can't do that. They have to donate 100% of the leftover food. In North America, we're not even talking about it here. We're not even talking about it. Like, supermarkets do whatever they want. And same, France legislated a few weeks ago on trains, and Air France can't fly flights that are covered by train in under 2 hours now. So yeah, I think there's a huge role for governments to legislate. I mean, various levels of governments, local and national, to legislate in a way that makes something. It's the only way to stop corporations to do whatever they want just in the name of money. So yeah, I think there's a role there. The problem is they're often connected together, and we know the governments are usually heavily influenced by corporations, so they don't always legislate nearly as much as they should, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. So, and going more into your work with companies, is there something different between the work you do on your educational part for your channel and the work you do with companies, in the sense of how is the conversation with them?
On the one hand, they're very similar because they're whiteboard animation, usually between 3 and 6 minutes, to explain something to people in an engaging way. They're different in the sense that what I do for myself is it's my voice, it's what I believe and what I see as important, and I explain it my way. And that's, again, a contribution to global education. When I do a video for a company who hires me to do that, we communicate the message that they want to communicate. When it's not aligned with my values at all, that doesn't work, and we can't do it because I don't want to stand for that. But when it is, we try to explain what they are doing in their own words. And what's common in these two different types of videos is that we're trying to make something that's engaging, that people are going to watch until the end or as much as possible. So like you said earlier, they often start with a question. You know, it's the whole tell them what you're going to tell them, and tell them what you told them. So I start with that, but also questions at the beginning when they're provocative or intriguing, they can make it's, I have found it can be a good trick to keep people engaged because they're like, oh, really? Like what, how is he going to answer that? So that's one of the tricks that I use to keep people engaged. The war for video watching online is big these days. So you have to grab people's attention very quickly at the beginning and then keep them engaged because otherwise they switch.
What are the most successful ones? Like the most successful video of yours?
That's a good question. I mean, there's the one that has the most views altogether. I think that's the triple bottom line video. And it's been ranked #1 for the keyword triple bottom line, which again is another way of saying sustainability, corporate social responsibility, and the rest of it. But it's quite old. But the last two that I posted in November and December 2020, the one on carbon footprint and the one on the Sustainable Development Goal from the UN.
That's how I discovered your channel.
Yeah, a lot of people found me through those two because I think on a rolling 28 days analytics, there are the two that are the most watched right now. They don't have the biggest total of views because they're fairly recent, but they rank well on keywords that are very much searched on Google and YouTube.
What is the future of the channel? And do you still have some topic that you have never done or they're still too complicated and you still have to find a key to tell them?
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, I have a very, very long list of videos to post. It doesn't mean that they're all very good and that I'd be willing to start working on them next week because, again, some of them, it's a little bit discouraging when they take a lot of time, these videos, like between writing the script, doing all the drawings, recording the drawing, editing the video together. It's anywhere between 4 and 7, 8 days of work. Like it takes time. It's not like shooting a video in your kitchen in 5 minutes. They're labor intensive. So it is a bit discouraging to do that a lot and then have your video not being watched. So that's why I'm trying to be very strategic about what I post. But my other dilemma, and that's been the dilemma since the beginning of that version of my work, it's the balance between posting videos on YouTube and making videos on commission, because I said at the beginning that the videos on YouTube were my pro bono work, but my accountant called that my advertising. And she's totally right. Like, people hire me to make videos on commission because they have found me on YouTube. So I have to do both, but I have only so much time to do both. And when I don't have any work, I post a lot of videos on YouTube, but that doesn't generate a lot of revenue. And when I get a lot of videos on commission, I don't have time to post videos on YouTube. So to answer your question, I've never had that, and maybe I should make one, but I don't have a very good plan for the channel. Some days I'm like, I want to do nothing else but YouTube videos and focus and do only that. And sometimes
then your accountant is going to call you.
But it's also, it is challenging to make a financially viable YouTube channel. You need there's not very many ways to make money on YouTube. If you're not doing all the Amazon selling links to sell stuff, which I'm totally trying not to do. If you're not selling merchandising and all that, and sponsorship in that field could work, I did a video for Tetra Pak like that, but it's a bit of a, I'm a bit conflicted about that. So essentially there's the crowdfunding option when people, that's partly what I'm doing. The Patreon page where people make a small donation. And when a lot of people make a small donation, then creators generate enough revenue for every video that they post. But sometimes I also find, like, I'm going to start in the next week or two a project to make a video for a company that has 25,000 employees. And I'm like, you know what, that's a really good use of my time. Like, the number of hours that I'm going to work is going to impact almost instantly 25,000 people. That's another way I have to judge my work. And so that's important too, for me to have the maximum impact with the amount of time that I spend. So that the balance is not always easy to find, but I guess I need to keep doing both, I think, is usually when I think a lot about it, the answer that I come up with. And yeah, see if it works.
Is there a dream topic that you haven't done yet, but you want to do?
No, not really a dream topic. I mean, I think I would, again, if the YouTube algorithm was not an issue, I would probably post more, what's the right word for that? Advocacy videos. But typically this doesn't do very well on YouTube. So you can post a lot of them and have very few people watch them. So that doesn't generate a lot of result. No, I mean, there's a lot of, some topics are very interesting. Like the video that I did on coronavirus last year was very interesting because I had to do a lot of research. A lot of the time when I do videos, I already know, like, it's information that I'm already familiar with. I just have to package it in a video format. The video on the coronavirus, I really had to read and spend a lot of time thinking about it to put it together. So that was really, really interesting. There's probably, if I was doing more videos like that on subjects that I'm not very familiar with, like, you know, hydrogen and all that stuff, that would require a lot of research, which is kind of interesting. They're not really dream topics, but yeah, there's still a lot of information to cover in the world of sustainability, climate change, CSR, circular economy, and the rest of it, for sure. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Alex, for being with us.
Thank you very much for having me. That was awesome.
Thank you for everybody who are listening, and I see you next week. Please subscribe to YouTube channel.
Yeah, we haven't talked about yours.
Yeah, and so thank you so much, and I see you next week. Thank you. Bye, Alex.
Bye.